A mother bear was scooping honey for her cub. Suddenly, a huge boulder rolled down and crushed the mother bear's neck instantly. The cub wanted to rescue his mom, but he was still too small. All his efforts failed, so the cub stayed overnight beside his mother. When morning came, he decided to leave on his own, but without his mother's protection, the cub struggled to survive alone. Because the forest had other predators and hunters with firearms, they spotted a tree shaking nearby and a bear scratching under it. The hunters quietly followed. When the bear picked wild berries, a hunter pulled the trigger immediately, but only hit the bear's left arm. The bear roared in fury and fled from the scene. Meanwhile, the cub discovered the wounded bear. The cub ran up quickly, but facing the cub's kindness, the bear snarled aggressively. But the cub didn't give up. The bear reached a muddy pool to ease his pain temporarily, but it didn't help much. At that moment, the cub quietly came behind the bear. He licked the bear's wound repeatedly. Finally, the bear's pain eased, and the cub earned the bear's trust. Soon, the hunting dogs found the bear's tracks. With hunters closing in, the bear suddenly stood alert because he smelled the hunters. He quickly fled with the cub, but the cub couldn't climb the steep rock and whimpered sadly. The bear stayed behind a stall so the cub could hide safely. He pushed stones downhill while checking the cub's hiding, but there were too many dogs and hunters drew nearer. The bear had to escape fast. Finally, the cub was captured alive, but the bear didn't give up on him. Instead, he stayed near the hunter's camp. At midnight, when the hunters fell asleep, the cub suddenly ran forward because he recognized his mother's pelt, but the rope still held him back. When morning came, hunters found the rope broken. They thought the cub escaped. When they looked around, they found him sleeping on his mom. The cub's innocence charmed the hunters, but they still planned to kill the bear. They decided to split up to find him, but they never expected the bear was following them nearby. During the search, a young hunter ran out of water. He put down his rifle and began washing his face by a valley, not knowing the bear was behind him. When he looked back, he froze in shock. The bear charged and roared. The hunter covered his head and begged helplessly. He thought he'd die, but the bear turned and left. He reloaded his rifle and aimed at the bear, but after a few seconds, he gave up shooting because the bear's love moved him. Then he fired into the sky to warn the bear to flee.
Go away!
At that moment, the old hunter raised his rifle, but the young man stopped him. They decided to abandon the hunt. Back at camp, they untied the cub's chains, but to their surprise, the cub followed them again. They could only scare him away once more. The hunters left, but now the cub had to survive on his own. And worse, a mountain lion was already stalking him. The cub dashed away in fear. He climbed a fallen log, only to find a dead end ahead, and the lion was closing in. Then, the log suddenly snapped under him. He fell into the river, but luckily, he crawled onto driftwood and floated downstream. But the mountain lion did not relent. It waded downstream. The cub jumped into the river again, seeing no escape. In his panic, the cub roared like the bear to scare off the lion. Next second, the lion actually retreated because behind the cub stood a massive adult brown bear. The cub ran to the bear. At this moment, he realized he would never be alone again.